I've ever done sports-wise. So hard to do. My back and my neck from swinging that hammer around.
The world thought he was healing, posting smiles, staying sober, even planning his comeback. But in less than 24 hours, Liam Payne would fall, literally, and the world would be left asking, how did it all go so wrong? This wasn't just a tragic accident. It was a slow-motion catastrophe, one seen by witnesses, captured on camera, and whispered about by everyone close to him. Drugs, betrayal, secrets, and a chilling pattern of escape that had been building for years. What really happened to Liam Payne in Argentina? And why are so many people now being blamed for it? It was supposed to be just another sunny afternoon in Buenos Aires. The wedding guests at the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel were preparing for a celebration. Laughter echoed through the lobby, cameras flashed on balconies, and music played faintly in the background. But at exactly 5:07 p.m., the mood shattered like glass. A shadow fell across the courtyard. Then, a sickening thud. Some thought it was part of the music. Others thought it was a fallen object. But when guests rushed to their windows, what they saw stole the breath from their lungs. A man was lying motionless by the pool, a black cap still resting on his head, a leather bag flung beside him. He wasn't moving. Blood stained the pavement. Someone screamed. It didn't take long before the name spread like wildfire. Liam Payne. Yes, that Liam Payne, the international superstar, former member of the biggest boy band since the Beatles. One Direction's own Sensible One, the voice millions grew up with. He was gone. He had fallen from the third-floor balcony of his hotel suite. And according to multiple witnesses, it looked like he was trying to climb down when he lost his grip. Some said he was escaping. Others believed he had been left alone at his most vulnerable moment. But one thing was clear. The man who once stood center stage in sold-out arenas across the globe had just fallen, both literally and tragically, out of the public eye for good. In the hours that followed, chaos erupted. Within minutes, crowds began gathering outside the hotel, many clutching homemade signs or cell phones, hoping somehow that the reports were wrong. They weren't. Liam Payne, just 31 years old, had died instantly on impact. The grief was immediate and global. Social media flooded with heartbreak. Celebrities posted tributes, and fans, they wept like they'd lost a brother. But while the world mourned, something strange was unfolding behind closed doors. The hotel's staff seemed tense. Inconsistent accounts started surfacing. Some said Liam had been partying. Others claimed he was in recovery, just days sober. Then came the leaks. Whispers of alcohol, drugs, and erratic behavior in the hours leading up to his death. Surveillance footage, forensic photos, and a chilling quote from someone who saw it happen. "We watched him fall, and we heard the impact. That sound, it's never leaving my head." And at the center of it all, a man named Roger Norris, Liam's longtime friend, a man who claimed to be looking out for him, but now faced allegations of abandonment. But this wasn't just a freak accident. The truth of what happened inside that hotel would soon unravel into a storm of drugs, blurred memories, blurred loyalties, and one final attempt to escape. What happened inside Liam Payne's hotel room that day wasn't just messy, it was catastrophic. His final 24 hours were a whirlwind of chaos, fueled by addiction, paranoia, and desperation. And it didn't start at night, it started early that morning. At 6:36 a.m., Liam ordered 5 bottles of whiskey to his suite, just hours after ordering 4 more the night before. That wasn't normal, and it wasn't subtle. By mid-morning, hotel staff found white powder scattered across furniture. A maid, horrified, alerted the front desk. The scent of liquor mixed with anxiety in the hallways. Something was brewing, and everyone nearby felt it. Then came the text messages. At 7:03 a.m., Liam sent a message to his friend Roger. "Dude, I think I'm going to a hooker." By 9:32 a.m., another, "Can you get 6 grams?" 6 grams of what? He didn't say, but context made it crystal clear. Roger, according to reports, arrived at the hotel shortly after. The two had breakfast together. Waiters say Liam ordered more whiskey. His hands trembled. His eyes darted. But to some, he still seemed composed, controlled. That's what made what came next so disturbing. At 11:30 a.m., 2 escorts entered Liam's room. They later told prosecutors that after sex, they asked for the agreed $5,000 payment. But Liam didn't have it. Instead of explaining, he exploded. He punched the TV, smashed his Rolex, shattered glass against the wall. It was no longer just a party, it was a breakdown in real time. Around 2 p.m., Liam was heard telling a hotel employee, "I'm going to need another 7 grams for today." And he got it. Hotel surveillance would later show a staff member, allegedly working with an outside dealer, delivering the package to Liam's room. That staffer now faces up to 15 years in prison. By 3:45 p.m., Roger returned to the hotel and paid off the escorts. Minutes later, he left again, leaving Liam alone. And that's when things spiraled completely out of control. Witnesses saw Liam stumbling around the lobby shortly after 4:20 p.m. He was barefoot, carrying a laptop and a bottle of whiskey. He slammed the laptop to the ground. It cracked into pieces. A few minutes later, he collapsed, convulsing, twitching, foaming at the mouth. He was carried back to his room by 3 hotel staffers. One described him as barely conscious. Another said it was like watching a man possessed. At 4:50 p.m., he was seen lying on the elevator floor, eyes open but vacant. When the doors opened to the lobby, he sat upright for a moment, then passed out again. And yet, again, no ambulance, no medical team, no professionals, just hotel workers trying to keep him out of sight. The final return to his room happened just after 5 p.m. Minutes later, he was gone. This wasn't the first time Liam Payne tried to flee a hotel by scaling down a balcony. A month and a half before his death, in a luxury suite in Palm Beach, Florida, Liam had a breakdown during a heated argument with his bodyguard. The man, handpicked by his team, was trying to stop him from scoring drugs. But Liam wasn't having it. He didn't scream. He didn't throw anything. He just walked out to the balcony and vanished. Minutes later, hotel security found him wandering barefoot through the garden, shirtless, laughing to himself. He had tied a garden hose to the railing and rappelled 3 stories down. His bodyguard was fired the next morning. To Liam, it was a joke, a flex. He bragged about it, his escape route, as he called it. But to those close to him, it was a terrifying glimpse into a man who, when trapped, didn't think twice about taking dangerous risks just to feel free. So when investigators reviewed the surveillance footage from his Buenos Aires hotel, certain details hit differently. Liam had put on a hat, he strapped a bag to his shoulder, and then he tossed that same bag over the railing, watching it land safely on the balcony below. This wasn't a suicide, it was an escape. Fingerprints later found on the balcony's edge showed signs of slipping, smudged, trailing toward the fall zone. He had tried to climb down to the 2nd floor the same way he had in Florida, only this time there was no hose, no planning, and no second chance. Why didn't anyone stop him? Some say the hotel staff tried. Others say they stood outside his room and watched. What's chilling is that the staff didn't even enter the room after returning him the final time. They simply waited behind the door, silent, hoping maybe that nothing else would happen. But Liam didn't wait. In those final minutes, adrenaline must have kicked in. He believed, however irrationally, that he could get out, that if he could just reach the 2nd floor, he'd be free. From what? That part may never be clear, but the pattern was there, the same behavior, the same impulsiveness, and the same tragic miscalculation. Roger Norris wasn't just a friend. To many, he was the friend, the one who'd stuck around when others backed off, the one Liam had flown to Argentina with, the one who was supposed to be watching his back. But in the eyes of prosecutors, he wasn't a hero. He was a suspect. In the days following Liam's death, Roger became the focus of intense scrutiny. His name showed up in text messages, his face appeared in hotel logs, And perhaps most damning of all, he admitted to visiting Liam 3 times that day, but never staying. Authorities claimed he left Liam alone while knowing he was spiraling, alone, intoxicated, and unstable. The charge? Abandonment? And it wasn't symbolic. Under Argentine law, Roger faced real prison time. To the public, it was a bombshell. The same man who appeared in interviews weeping, who insisted Liam was tipsy but fine, was now being framed as someone who had walked away. The contradiction was brutal, especially when other witnesses painted a different picture. One of a man barely able to speak, foaming at the mouth, slumped unconscious on hotel floors. Roger's defense was immediate and emotional. He described Liam as playful, laughing, just being Liam. He said they had breakfast together, that Liam was joking with wedding guests and seemed in good spirits, that nothing seemed dangerous. "I'm not a murderer," he said. "I'm also a victim." And maybe he was. Or maybe he was in denial, because the texts Liam sent to Roger tell a darker story. He asked for drugs. He mentioned escorts. He hinted at spiraling. And each time Roger responded,
Liam Payne,
sometimes playfully, sometimes evasively, but rarely with concern. Then there was the moment that made headlines. 9:32 a.m., Liam texts, "Can you get 6 grams?" Sometime after 10 a.m., Roger arrives at the hotel for breakfast. Coincidence? Prosecutors didn't think so. They believed Roger helped Liam get the drugs. Maybe not physically, but passively, by enabling, by ignoring the signs, by letting it happen. But here's the thing, Roger wasn't the only one being accused. The hotel staff played a role, and so did someone else. Someone who had barely known Liam, but was suddenly in the spotlight. His name? Brian. A 24-year-old waiter who served Liam food and something else. His name was Brian Pez, just 24 years old. A waiter at a trendy restaurant in Buenos Aires. And according to authorities, he was also the man who brought cocaine to Liam Payne's hotel suite. Twice. Brian denies it. In his own words, "I didn't sell him anything. We hung out. He gave me a drawing, that's all." But prosecutors say otherwise. TMZ obtained text messages from Brian's phone, messages where he arranged to deliver drugs, photos of cocaine, a conversation with Liam that included a chilling image, 3 grams of white powder, laid out on foil, captioned with a time. And more than that, security footage shows Brian walking into the hotel beside Liam, heading to the elevator and disappearing upstairs. There was no food tray in his hands. But Brian isn't the only hotel employee caught in the crosshairs. Ezequiel David Pereira, a staff member, is seen in footage just 3 hours before Liam's death, handing something to him on the elevator. Authorities say it was more cocaine, tucked in a signature dove-shaped soap box. Neither man has confessed. Both now face up to 15 years in prison. And yet, even more shocking than what they may have delivered is what the hotel did after. Staff had seen Liam unconscious. They'd watched him twitching on the floor. One masseuse said he was foaming at the mouth. Guests reported bizarre, erratic behavior. And still, the hotel didn't call an ambulance. They didn't contact medical help. They didn't notify police. Instead, they carried him. 3 hotel employees physically lifted Liam off the lobby floor, dragged him into the elevator, and escorted him back to his room. There they left him, barely conscious, allegedly hallucinating, glass on the floor, furniture broken. Only after locking him in the room did they call 911. To some, this was negligence. To others, it was something worse. "They kidnapped him," said one legal expert. "You don't forcibly return an overdosing guest to a room with a balcony. That's not protocol. That's liability." But maybe it wasn't malice. Maybe it was fear. A hotel caught in the middle of a celebrity meltdown, unsure how to handle it, trying to keep it quiet. Trying not to be next in the headlines, it didn't work. Because now, not just Brian and Ezequiel, but 2 more hotel workers, the manager and the receptionist who placed the 911 call, are being considered for prosecution. A total of 5 people face criminal consequences. all of them perhaps just trying to survive one man's collapse. But what if this collapse had started long before Argentina? Liam Payne was famous before he was fully grown. At just 16, he was locked into the orbit of One Direction, a machine so powerful it churned out stadium tours, chart-topping albums, and instant icons. But behind the flashing lights and sold-out shows was a hotel room, always a hotel room. "We were just locked away," Liam once admitted. "The best way to secure us was to isolate us. And of course, what's in the room? A minibar, so I threw myself a party every night." What began as boredom evolved into dependency. Liquor blurred the loneliness. Over time, that blur became routine, and eventually that routine became addiction.
Who's the funny one?
He spoke about it years later, trying to laugh it off. But the pain was written between every line. The boy who once smiled through interviews was drowning in plain sight. Behind closed doors, he was unraveling, fighting with bodyguards, getting blackout drunk, lashing out, checking into rehab, then falling off again. He wasn't hiding it. He was surviving it. In May of this year, just weeks before his death, he nearly didn't make it. A close friend revealed that Liam had suffered 2 overdose episodes so severe he had to be resuscitated. One incident landed him in a psychiatric institution for 3 days. He didn't want to die, but he couldn't seem to stay alive either, not in a way that felt stable. And then came the cease and desist. In the days before his death, Liam had been sending desperate, obsessive messages to his ex-fiancée. Not just texts, but calls from hidden numbers, iCloud accounts, burner phones. She went public. Her mother's phone was blowing up too. And finally, a legal warning was sent to Liam telling him to stop. To someone already spiraling, that legal slap may have been the final shove. He wasn't mentally well, and everyone close to him knew it. He had therapists, he had sponsors, he had people. But fame complicates recovery. Liam wasn't just fighting addiction, he was doing it while under a microscope. Every relapse was someone's headline. Every cry for help was dissected by strangers. And yet, he kept trying. A 100-day rehab program, a chemical dependency counselor, intensive therapy. For a while, it looked like he was coming back. He posted about sobriety, he gave interviews, he made plans. But he was fragile. And fragile things break when no one's looking. The moment Liam Payne's death hit headlines, the search for someone to blame began. First came Roger Norris, his friend, his travel companion, the man who said he was just trying to help. Prosecutors zeroed in, accusing him of abandonment. They said he should have stayed, should have intervened, should have stopped Liam from spiraling. But how do you stop a grown man who doesn't want help? He wasn't a child, Roger's lawyer argued. He made his own choices. And Liam wasn't easy to control. He was smart, charming, and stubborn. Still, Roger wasn't just any friend. According to Liam's father, he was the one in charge of Liam's care. He was supposed to be the responsible one, the sober one. And yet, the texts, those damning, cold texts, paint a picture of someone who might have helped facilitate the very spiral he later tried to escape. But Roger wasn't the only one prosecutors had in their crosshairs. They wanted more, fast. Within days, they'd charged Brian Pess, the waiter, with trafficking cocaine. Then Ezekiel Pereira, the hotel staffer, caught handing Liam the Dove box. And then they started circling the hotel manager and receptionist for failing to act sooner, for letting it get this far. It was a media circus, a legal race to find a villain. But some say the entire thing felt performative. "This is a celebrity death in a global spotlight," said one criminal analyst. Of course they're going to make an example of someone. The world is watching and someone has to pay. The urgency wasn't just legal, it was emotional. For fans, for family, for the millions who grew up on Liam's voice, there was pain, raw, unresolved pain, and when grief doesn't get answers, it demands justice. Whether that justice is real or symbolic almost doesn't matter. Because in cases like these, the line between accountability and scapegoating is razor thin. The hotel staff said they were overwhelmed, not malicious. That they didn't know how to handle a superstar in full collapse. That they were just trying to remove him from public view, to get him away from the lobby, from witnesses, from embarrassment. And yet, they placed him in a room with a balcony. They watched him fall. And now, 3 of them face trial. Not because they pushed him, but because they didn't stop him. And Roger? The man some still believe abandoned Liam? A few months after the story broke, all charges against him were dropped. Cleared. Just like that. But not forgiven. Not by everyone. Liam Payne wasn't just another pop star. He was a symbol of a generation. The polished, dimpled boy who stood center stage as One Direction conquered the world. For millions, he was part of the soundtrack of growing up. First crushes, school dances, summer road trips, he was there for all of it. But behind the songs, the smiles, and the stadium lights, there was a young man falling apart. Not suddenly, slowly. His story isn't one of a single tragic moment. It's a mosaic of missed signals, quiet relapses, and a fame machine that gave him everything except peace. We may never know the exact thought that went through his mind as he stepped onto that balcony. Was it panic, confusion, a desperate urge to flee? What we do know is this: he thought he could escape, and he didn't. Now we're left with photos, news clips, fingerprints smudged on a railing, and a long list of people, friends, staff, strangers, caught in the fallout. Some facing prison, others buried in guilt, and still, the world keeps asking, how did this happen? Who failed him? Could he have been saved? But maybe we're asking the wrong questions. Maybe the real tragedy isn't just that Liam died. It's that no one around him truly knew how to save someone famous, fragile, and falling at the same time. Maybe it's that we live in a culture that watches celebrities spiral like it's entertainment until they disappear. And only then do we wonder why no one did more. Liam Payne deserved better. From his friends, from his team, from all of us. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying, and now an entire generation is left with the weight of losing the first One Direction member. Far too young, and in a way no one should ever go. Rest in peace, Liam. You were more than a headline. You were someone's son, someone's friend. And for millions, you were the voice of growing up.